It's Powerback time on the Gutsy podcast, your 20-minute boost to reclaim and refocus your energy. Get ready to have bursts of clarity, a boost of confidence, and the practical steps you need to make gutsy moves forward. You've got big things to do, so let's get your power back. I can't believe that I'm saying this, but it has been one entire year since I sold my agency to pursue being a full-time keynote speaker and coach. I mean, the time just freaking flashes in front of you, and boy, have I learned a lot. When you go to make a big shift in your life or in your career, it's often met with resistance, questioning, can I do this? Is this the right time? I don't know how this is going to work out. That fear, it can get really loud. And while I'd love to tell you that this past year has been smooth sailing off a unicorn's back, it's looked and felt quite different than what I expected. In today's episode, I'm going to tell you why this year wasn't what I expected it to be, yet why it was exactly what I needed it to be. I'm going to recap some high highs, some low lows, and my biggest takeaways from making a gutsy transition in my career. By the way, if we're not already connected, I would encourage you to follow me on your social media platform of choice. My handle is @thatlauraora. Every day I share 60-second tidbits to help you make gutsy moves, to get out of your own way, and to give you some really tangible, actionable tips to be able to shift some of the thoughts and behaviors that may be stopping you. And as I've been told, also the motivation that you need in the moment, in the situation when you need it. Again, my handle is @thatlauraora. I tend to play the most on Facebook and TikTok, but if you want a little daily dose of Laura Ora, then follow me on your favorite platform. So I'm sitting here in my office and I'm just reflecting. I'm really, truly reflecting on the past year of my life. And honestly, a lot of the years that have led to this year, because it has been quite a wild ride. Just in case you're not familiar, I ran a branding agency for 16 and a half years. I was in the design industry for 22 years. So this has been my life for most of my life. In fact, more than half of my life, because at time of recording, I'm about to turn 40. Making the decision to change something that you have only ever known is a gutsy move in its own. And it's a decision that wasn't taken lightly, not something that I thought of and did overnight. But it came from a series of listening to myself, trusting my body, following what made me feel interested and curious and open and excited again. And also paying attention to the things that didn't light me up anymore, where I no longer had interest, where I didn't want to put time, money, or effort anymore. So about 18 months ago, I had this, dare I say, mental breakdown where I owned and honored the fact that I no longer wanted to run the agency. And that's really tough, right? Like it came with all these questions and fears and worries of, what am I doing? This is all I've ever known. This is how I pay our bills. This is what my reputation is built in. This is what people know me for. Can I actually be a speaker? Will anybody ever pay me to do that? I mean, I could write a novel on all the reasons that I should not sell the agency, but all I needed was the single reason that I wanted to. And that single reason was, I'm finished. I've done everything that I wanted to do and then some. And more importantly, I love speaking. I feel incredibly drawn to make my impact through my spoken word, through my written word. And I had been straddling the fence for a really long time, getting frustrated because my new thing wasn't working. Well, guess what? It's not going to work when I'm putting like a partial piece of my ass in it. I'm not half-assing it. I was like quarter-assing it. Yet at the end of the day, I had this expectation that, this should just be working and getting mad at it because it wasn't. And that was part of this mental breakdown, was the realization that, hey, these two things cannot coexist anymore. In order to move on and forward, I have to be willing to let go. I had such immense clarity that speaking and coaching and writing books was my next chapter, is my next chapter, that I made the decision to release what I had built. So like I said, about 18 months ago, I decided, hey, it's time to do this. By December of 2023, which was about 5-6 months later, it's sold. It's off to its new home and the clients are being taken care of and they're with a wonderful team that's doing so many amazing things. And as as somebody that's very empathetic and very, very deeply cares about my work, it was incredibly fulfilling to see my creation going off and forming its own new life with this new set of people that just love it and was breathing new life into it. A piece of my legacy, of my creation, of my time, my love, my effort gets to live on and take new wings. Now, I also do want to say that these types of transitions don't typically happen this quickly, but it's kind of my jam. That's how I do things. I will sit with something, marinate with it, feel it out, really get to know it for a little while. But then when I'm ready to go, I'm ready to go. So if you happen to be listening to this because you're on this journey or are considering this, just know that these things do take time. I just happened to make the right decision in the right time, knowing the right people, where it all came together in about 6 months. So a year ago, right about now, the agency was sold and I was embarking on a whole new chapter. Now, I had been speaking alongside the agency. Like I said, I was trying to make it work and then getting really salty about why it wasn't. And collectively, I'd say I've been speaking for about 10 years through the Gutsy podcast, through the Green Couch Project, through speaking at things like the Chamber of Commerce and Lunch and Learns and going into companies. So while I wasn't new to speaking, this new life has been new for me. And I got to tell you, this past year has not been what I expected it to be. Shocker, right? You know, we set out to do something. We want it to happen a certain way and it goes differently. Oh, who would have thought? But you know what? In this situation and in every single situation I've been in like this, it went exactly the way that it was supposed to. It was exactly what I needed. One of the very first promises that I made to myself going into this new business is that, you know what, I'm going to do every single thing with intention. And it's not that I was doing things willy-nilly in the agency. It grew and it morphed and people got involved. And, you know, I eventually ended up not doing it the way that I wanted to. And things got kind of muddy and then I had to bring it back in. And I was like, you know what, I'm not doing that again. I am right here, right now, going to set the intention that I'm going to build this new business my way, always filtering my decisions through my gut, through my instincts, really sitting with things, allowing things to take time and to really process if this is the right thing to do. And I did this with things as simple as programs that we were using, apps that we were using to run the business, to people on the team, programs I was putting out, types of clients I was working with, what I wanted to speak about, everything. I wanted to run everything through my filter. Now, here's the catch with this, and here's where some of the lessons have started to come into play. Doing things the right way, the aligned way, doesn't happen quickly. Some things, sure, but the bigger stuff, the overarching goals and things that we're working on and towards, the timing, the speed of things, that's one of the things that I'm going to dig into and tell you more about. But first, I thought I'd give you some quick lows and some quick highs that I experienced throughout the year. Starting with the lows, this year was sprinkled with them. Starting with the very first 3 months of the year, the very first 3 months after selling the agency. The first month after was still focused on something else because we were selling our building that month. So all my time and attention shifted very quickly from selling the agency to selling the business building. And honestly, that was both physically and emotionally very taxing. Immediately after selling the building, I got COVID for the first time. And when I tell you I got COVID, I'm telling you that I got knocked on my freaking ass. For about 2 weeks, I was physically sick, down, like not able to move. But then for about 4 or 5 weeks after the physical stuff, I was mentally sick. COVID triggered a very deep depression in me that actually really scared me. And it paired with something that I learned, which I wasn't really expecting, but I don't know why I was surprised, a grieving process. Letting go of something that you've created, something that you spent half of your life doing, and all of a sudden now completely slowing down. Listen, friend, my body fucking gave out. all the stress from the previous couple of months, all the hustle, all the grind, all the details that had to happen in the background to make both of these sales happen, paired with a deep sadness of the loss of something that was very important to me. And then tinker in a little bit of COVID in there. The first 3 months were anything but productive. It wasn't till about, honestly, mid-March, almost April, till I was able to actually constructively do anything on and towards this new business. And I'm so incredibly grateful that the sale of the business afforded me that time to be able to be sick, because that's not always the case for a lot of people. After all that dust started to settle and I started to feel a little bit more like myself again, it took some time. We went into building mode, figuring it out. We put a lot of time and effort and money into a lot of new things. And a lot of times it was experimental, figuring out what worked and what didn't. And in full transparency, I didn't sell a lot in 2024. I actually questioned a lot. Am I doing the right thing? Does anybody actually want to buy anything from me? Am I the right person to do this? Did I make a mistake? In many ways, I was starting over, which often left me feeling like, gosh, I feel like I was running at 100 miles an hour and now I feel like I'm crawling at 8 miles an hour. And I had to work with my mindset a lot to shift back into the focus of, why are we doing this in the first place? Is this what I actually want? Yes. Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. But there were moments where I questioned it. I invested a lot of money in different aspects of the business, which some brought back some return. A lot of it did not. I downsized the team to reserve funds, and I had to take a lot of responsibility back on. Some, kind of in the trenches back end work that I don't love to do, but in this particular season, I've needed to do. And as a family, we've put off a lot of things. Traveling, any extra expenses, doing anything extra. So we've spent a lot of time at home this year, which is not a bad thing. We love our home. But we've made a lot of sacrifices to be able to nurture this new chapter. Now, I will tell you, there's also been some pretty great shit. It was not all lost. In fact, we did a lot of really great things. First and foremost, I'm fully independent doing the thing that I love to do the most. Every day I get to teach, or I get to speak, or I get to write and create. I get to play with my ideas and see what really resonates with me. I don't have to filter it through anything or anyone else because it's me and my brand. And that has been so incredibly liberating for me. We built an incredibly solid foundation that is fully aligned. And when I say a foundation, I mean my systems and processes, the tools that we use, the platforms that we're on, my messaging, my tone, my personality, my brand. Everything is built with such a solid base that it is so strong that it's going to uphold everything that we put on top of it. In the past, my tendency has been to rush things and, do it now and fix it later. And this year I was like, we're not doing that. We are building a rock solid fucking foundation. And that's exactly what we did. I launched the Gutsy Collective, which is my membership where women are making gutsy moves every day. And I'm getting to watch them make these changes in their lifestyle, in their careers, in their family, in their relationships. And through the collective and through my coaching, I've been able to help hundreds of women to make more aligned decisions, to feel alive again, to get the clarity that they've been looking for, to feel seen and supported and know what to do. I've been able to focus on my health, starting to repair my body from the inside out from the damage that's been done over the last 20 years. I invested in myself, and I was so proud of myself. I went through this program called MDA, which is called Mic Drop Academy. It's led by an incredible speaker. Her name is Jess Ekstrom, and she helps women to get to be paid speakers. And it was a really intensive program, and it required an investment of my time and my money. And I did it for me. This is probably the first big thing that I've done for myself in a really, really long time. And honestly, it was one of the most profound experiences of the entire year. And it has set me up for such success to be a full-time keynote speaker, paid keynote speaker. And I think honestly, one of my favorites of all of them is I've been so much more present with my family. All this division that I was in before, trying to run and grow 3 businesses, I look back and I'm like, Laura, what in the shit were you thinking? If someone asked me today, will you run 3 businesses again if it's guaranteed to all be successful? I would tell them no. because the amount of energy and time that it pulls away from just being a regular fucking human is not worth it. I am really good with one very successful business so that I can continue to live my life. We're having more fun and I feel more relaxed. And because I've been able to work on my health, I feel like, I don't know, just everything has been so much more unified and soft. I've really been able to embrace my feminine energy and really just sit down and in with that. My kiddo, he's growing up, guys. He is 17 at time of recording, and cherishing every single moment that I can get with him is my top priority. So as you can see, this year has been a mixed bag of unexpected things. And yet sitting here reflecting on this and sharing these stories with you makes me so incredibly proud and grateful. I'm really proud of myself, guys. I've been everything to everyone my entire existence, and this time last year I chose me. And because of that, the possibilities are endless, and I'm sharing this with you with hopes that it inspires you to make your next gutsy move, whether it is your business or in your career or in your life or whatever you keep wavering back and forth in between. Please know that choosing you is always worth it. So here are my big takeaways, my big lessons, the things that I want to teach you just to be mindful of, to absorb for yourself, and to remind you that you are insanely capable of living the life that you really want. Lesson number 1 is change is actually not a lateral move. I had this weird expectation that I was going to go from, I've been building this agency and running it for 16 years. I'm just going to move from that level just straight across the board in the speaking world. And I'm just basically going to pick up where I left off. Turns out that's wrong. There was a lot of starting over. While I was not new, I was new. And I had to readjust my expectations. Because at first I thought, okay, well, what's wrong with me? I'm like back at 0 here. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm bringing so much knowledge with me. I have so much experience now. I have so many tools and resources already at my fingertip. So while I'm starting over in a lot of ways, I'm starting over so much more jam-packed with knowledge. So when you go to make a change, stay open and release whatever expectation that you might have around how it should go. Because that's where you're going to fight yourself. That's where you're going to get down. That's where your brain's going to kick in and tell you that you made the wrong decision or you can't do this. Staying open to, okay, I'm making this change and I'm willing to be new again. I'm willing to start over because that means I can build it the way that I want this time. I can live a happier life. I can be more fulfilled. I can enjoy my career more. Be willing to be new at something again. The second big takeaway is that when you make a change, especially with something that you've known for a really long time, grief is often part of the process. Even when you're letting go of something that you know is time to let go of, if it's been a part of your world for a long time, it's super familiar to you, it's all that you've ever known, grief is going to show up. Now, some people had kind of quote unquote warned me of this, and I was like, no, I should be fine because I'm really excited about this. This is really healthy. I'm really ready to let this go. And all of those things are true. But the thing that was also true is I was also sad. I was letting go of something that I had created. I mean, I literally spent 2 decades of my life creating this life. So when you go to make a change, let grief be part of the process. Feel those emotions, process it, get the support you need if needed. Because if you don't grieve it, you store it. And when you store it, it comes out in ways that you don't really want it to. I spent about 3 months, honestly, sick, depressed, down, grieving. And I don't say that to discourage you from making changes. I want to be honest with you of, hey, this might be part of the process. And I want you to know that there's nothing wrong with you, that actually this is a human experience that needs to be felt. Giving myself this time and really feeling it through and working with it has allowed me to move on and forward. The third big takeaway is healing your body takes time. I have been in fight or flight mode for about 30 years. Because yes, that started prior to starting a business. It started in childhood, then went immediately into college, and then it went immediately into the business, and then here we are. So having this expectation that I'm going to have free time now and all of a sudden everything's just going to be magically better, my body has endured a lot of shit. And teaching my body how to repair itself and giving it the love that it needs and the nutrients and the rest. My gosh, learning how to rest has been a huge lesson for me this year. Quick story, one of the things that I wanted the most when I went into this new business is white space in my life, downtime, my ability just to move way more freely with my time. But the challenge that most people don't talk about is when you go from hustling and running and doing all the time to resting, it feels really uncomfortable in your body and not just I feel like I should be doing something. Yeah, that's part of it. But the bigger part is I would sit down and have full on fucking anxiety attacks. And that was happening because my body was not familiar with rest. How fucked up is that? But that's how most of us are operating. And so I'm like, okay, obviously going from hustling my face off to just sitting is too much for my system in this stage. So I had to learn how to rest. And for me, that looked like productive rest. My brain was always going, which is what often triggered the anxiety attack. So I'm like, okay, my brain wants to do something. So sometimes I would read. But the thing that allowed me to learn how to rest was cross stitching. I went to Michael's and I got this cross stitch kit of a unicorn. And for, 20, 30 minutes at a time, I would sit and I would cross stitch and I would start to feel anxious and I would feel it and be present with it. But it allowed me to kind of taper down, introduce stillness to my body. And I eventually got to the point where I actually kind of lost interest in cross stitching because I no longer needed that stimulation. Now, I'm not perfect at this. Trust me, I still have moments when I sit down and my brain is going way faster than what my body wants to. But the key thing that I've learned here is that we have to be kind to ourselves. You have to learn and be willing to work with yourself through the process because you're teaching your body something it's not familiar with. I've been prioritizing low impact workouts, like taking a walk for, I think about 6 months now. I'm pretty steady at walking 2 miles a day. Starting my mornings off slow and quietly and with a warm cup of coffee after I've had some breakfast. I'm relearning how to relax. So as you're making your transitions, just start to really notice your body. Get curious about what it's doing and what it's saying to you. What transitional activity could help you? You don't have to go from black to white. You can actually move through this in a bit of a gray area. For me, that gray area was cross-stitching a unicorn while I was learning how to rest. The point is, what are the tools that you can do to help yourself through this? Be willing to do it in a way that looks untraditional but works for you, okay? Fourth big lesson, and then I've got one more for you. The fourth big lesson is that building something sustainable is a mind game. I have spent the better part of this year undoing old habits, filling my time, undercharging, saying yes when I wanted to say no, quitting taking care of myself. All these old habits, they did not go away the second I sold the agency. And knowing that this career that I'm in now, this next chapter, a huge chapter of my life, is I gotta work for sustainability here. And what I've done in the past is not gonna get me there. So I've spent a lot of time dealing with my mindfuckery, working with my old habits, reshaping things, reforming, creating new healthy habits that support what I want instead of driving me away from them. Learning how to slow down, be in the moment, work through the process properly. Being willing to always check in with myself before doing something or saying yes or building something. I told you I went in with this with a very pure intention that I'm going to do it my way. And that has been a non-negotiable. And my way is not the way that I've done a lot of things in the past. It's letting go of a lot of expectations. It's changing my behavioral patterns. It's changing the way that I talk to myself. When you get right with your mind, everything else starts to fall in place. What makes it hard is when you fight yourself. You overthink it. You question yourself. And listen, we're all human, so you're going to have moments of this. It's not about perfection here. It's about being willing to notice it, catch it, and shift it. This is how I created the Aura method, learning how to shift your mindset in the moment. And in case you have not gone through that, I'll send you 5 free audios if you want to learn that process. lauraora.com/foundations. It's a free tool that's going to teach you how to get out of your own way in the moment. Learning how to master this is the foundation for making sustainable change. And last, but certainly not least, my last biggest lesson is that choosing you is always worth it. Friend, making a gutsy move is scary as shit. There is no way around it. But when you're super clear about what it is that you want, you shift that mind junk that's trying to talk you out of it, and you take action to actually do it, you create endless opportunities. A year later, I'm doing what I love to do, and I'm excited for what's coming. I'm happier, I'm healthier, and while I've got a ways to go, I am so on track. Being willing to trust the process, release the expectation of time. Be around like-minded people that support you, that can hold that vision with you, that challenge you in healthy ways. Saying yes to you, getting out of your own way, doing the things that light you up. Whether it's as simple as starting to shift the way that you dress so that you feel more alive, or something big like changing careers or leaving a relationship. Maybe it's the messy middle stuff that nobody ever talks about, like allowing yourself to trust people again, learning how to work with your neurodivergency instead of shaming yourself, raising your hand, being seen and heard, saying no when your body is telling you to say no. Friend, choosing you is always worth it. Listen, I've got a lot more to learn, and I am a sponge, but this time I'm soaking up the right stuff. And because of that, I get to turn it around and teach you. I have the time, I have the capacity, I have the energy to be able to guide you. And as I'm recording this, I'm like, all of this is only because I was willing to bet on myself. I was willing to follow what I truly wanted to do. I got so clear about my passion and my purpose in this world. And there may be a lot of things that I still don't know, but the one thing that I know to be true is my ass is supposed to be on a stage. My hands are intended to write. My voice is intended to be heard. And all of it is through the lens of helping you to make the gutsy moves that change your life. If you've been on the fence about making a change in your life, I hope that this inspires you to choose you this time. Much love, and until I see you next time, stay gutsy.